Morning worth $62.2 million. $52.3 million is guaranteed. The new salary for Ward, a five-time Pro Bowler, averages $31.1 million. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Let me put my hard hat on, go back outside, and see if these procrastination Crenshaw construction crews have shown up yet. I'm saving space for grace, but if these trucks don't show up soon, well, you already know. Destination Crenshaw, your time is up. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. KBLA Talk 1580 and Bethesda Temple Church invite residents, churches, businesses, and community leaders along the Crenshaw corridor to join a vitally important community conversation Thursday, July 30th, 6:30 p.m. at Bethesda Temple Church, 4909 Crenshaw Boulevard. For years now, this community has been living with unkept promises and the devastating effects of the unfinished Destination Crenshaw construction project, leaving residents, businesses, and churches to deal with myriad problems, including the loss of parking, restricted access, traffic congestion, and a lack of emergency vehicle access when it matters most. For years now, Procrastination Crenshaw has directly contributed to the loss of customer revenue for local Black-owned businesses and, sadly, has forced the closure of some businesses along this 1.3-mile corridor. For years now, churches have been experiencing decreased attendance due to the elimination of parking, and social service programs for vulnerable fellow citizens have been altogether halted. For years now, residents have watched their quality of life erode, and nothing has been done about it. If they think they can get away with treating Black folk like second-class citizens, they better think again.
You better think about what you're trying to do to me.
This town hall meeting is a reckoning, a public witness, an opportunity for impacted community members to share their experiences for the public record as we prepare to hold those responsible accountable for this enduring nightmare. So please join us Thursday, July 30th, 6:30 p.m. at Bethesda Temple Church, 4909 Crenshaw Boulevard. This town hall meeting is free and open to the public, but registration is required at KBLA1580.com. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. I want to begin our program today on Wealthy Wednesdays and Worldwide with Dr. Leon with this brief editorial. The case that was never overruled. Every black family in America carries a legal education nobody, not a single Negro in American history, enrolled in. It's not taught in law schools. It's transmitted the way scripture was transmitted before we were permitted to read, by repetition at kitchen tables, in pauses of a sermon, and what a grandmother says when news comes on and what she does not want to say. It's a body of knowledge about what the government will do and will not do that concerns our security or harms us, and it's been accumulating since 1857. I want to talk about two cases in that curriculum because a family in Ocean Springs, Mississippi is living inside one of them right now. The first everyone knows. In 1857, Chief Justice Roger Taney wrote in Dred Scott that a black man had no rights that a white man was bound to respect, and that we could never be citizens of the United States. Categorical, total, written down, which matters more than people understand. The second case almost nobody knows, and it's the one that governed. In April of 1873, in Colfax, Louisiana, a white militia surrounded a courthouse where black men had gathered to defend a contested election. When it was finished, well over 100 black Americans were dead, many of them killed after they surrendered. It remains the deadliest single act of racial violence in American history and in the history of Reconstruction. The federal government did what the 14th Amendment had written to permit. It prosecuted. It charged the killers under the Enforcement Act, the statute Congress passed precisely because it knew Louisiana would never bring a case. In 1876, in United States versus Cruikshank, the Supreme Court threw the convictions out. The 14th Amendment, the court held, restrains states, listen carefully, not private men. The killers went home. Dred Scott said, "You are not a member of this nation, and therefore nothing is owed to you." Cruikshank said, "You are a member," after the 14th Amendment. The amendments made you one. We concede that. And it still does not follow that anyone is obligated to protect you. Membership without enforcement. A citizenship that is real on paper and unattended in the real world. And here's the fact that should keep every American awake. Dred Scott was destroyed. The 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment buried Taney so thoroughly that no serious person cites him except as a warning. Cruikshank was never overruled. Not in 1876, not in 1954, not in 1965, not once on its central holding in 150 years. It was extended into Shawnee versus Winnebago County. In the town of Castle Rock versus Gonzales, the Supreme Court held that the Constitution confers no affirmative right to government protection at all. The Due Process Clause limits what the states may do to you. It does not require that the state do one thing for you, not even in Castle Rock, to enforce a restraining order a judge had already ordered enforced. Understand what that means. The Colfax principle is not a relic of redemption. It's a current law generalized to the entire population, which brings me to Horn Island. Nolan Xavier Wells was 18 years old and a citizen of the United States. Nobody disputes that. Whatever Tawney tried to settle in 1857, the 14th Amendment settled against him in 1868, and that question is closed. He went to Horn Island on the 4th of July. Horn Island is not Mississippi land. It is congressionally designated wilderness, owned and administered by the National Park Service as part of the Gulf Island National Seashore. Federal ground, as federal as the mall in Washington, D.C. Yes, the same mall with the reflecting pool, the one that Donald Trump wants to paint. He did not come home. On July 6th, the National Park Service ranger found his body in the water off of the island's northwestern tip. 25 days later, now have passed. No federal agency has opened an investigation of its own. His citizenship is not in question. His citizenship is also not helping him. Now, let me be exact, because precision is the only thing that makes an argument like this survive an opponent. The doctrine I am describing is not written in racial language. Joshua DeShawney was a white child beaten into permanent brain damage, while caseworkers wrote it all down and did nothing. Jessica Gonzalez was a Latina mother whose 3 daughters were murdered after police ignored her. The rule that the protection is discretionary applies to everyone. The race is not the doctrine. The race is in the distribution. A neutral rule of discretion applied across a country with this history by officials with these incentives will produce racially patterned results without requiring one person to hold a racial thought. And that is the hardest kind of injustice to fight, because there is no statute to strike down, no holding to overturn, no decision to appeal. There's only a file that was never opened, and you cannot take an absence to court. This is why the old curriculum still teaches, not because Tawney's holding survives, it does not, but because the lesson did. In 1857, they said we were not members. In 1876, they conceded we were members and said no one was bound to act. Today, they say the same thing to everyone, black, white, striped, and polka dotted, and let discretion sort it out who receives the benefit of it. The mechanism keeps changing. The result does not. Dred Scott has been overruled. Cruikshank never was. And the mother in Mississippi at this hour is living in the case that still stands. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Roger and Tracy saved over $18,400. Cynthia was recovering from a family tragedy and saved over $10,300. If you are drowning in debt, then call Debt Blue. Debt Blue is a professional debt negotiation firm with over 20 years of experience helping people pay back a fraction of what they owe. Learn how to cut your debt up to half or maybe more. Be debt-free in 24 to 48 months, even with bad credit. With an A+ rating from the BBB, you can rest easy knowing Debt Blue is going to deliver guaranteed debt reduction. Debt Blue offers a success guarantee. You pay nothing unless your debt is reduced or completely resolved. That's right. You save money or it's free. Call now for significant debt relief and a free consultation. 800-200-8879. That's 800-200-8879. You don't have to declare bankruptcy. This program works if you owe $10,000, $20,000, or even $100,000 in debt. Call for your free consultation today. 800-200-8879. That's 800-200-8879.
This November, you'll decide who leads California. So shouldn't you hear directly from the people asking for your vote? Join us for California Voices, a political town hall and ballot forum, Saturday, October 3rd, 2026. Meet candidates running for governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and other major statewide and local offices, including mayor of Los Angeles, city attorney, and LA County sheriff. Get clear, nonpartisan breakdowns of the propositions on your November ballot, both sides, no spin. And ask your questions directly, in real conversation, face to face. California Voices is brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and the Empowerment Congress, giving you the information you need before you vote. Mark your calendar, Saturday, October 3rd, 2026, California Voices. Follow KBLA 1580 for details and download the KBLA 1580 app. Your vote, your voice. Be there.
In a world full of noise, one station keeps it real. KBLA Talk 1580, where the conversation goes deeper, the voices sound like yours, and the issues that matter most to our community take center stage. Progressive, powerful, unapologetically us. Whether you're driving through the city or tuning in from your home or office, join the public square. KBLA Talk 1580, your home for talk that enlightens, encourages, and empowers. Listen live on our free KBLA 1580 app, on our website at KBLA1580.com, or on your radio dial at 1580 AM.
Unapologetically progressive.
I love a girls' weekend, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can sometimes take me out of the moment. Now I'm all in with clearer skin, thanks to Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy.
You can usually find me in the kitchen, but my active psoriatic arthritis can limit me at times. Now I'm still in the mix with Skyrizi to treat my joint symptoms.
With Skyrizi, most people with plaque psoriasis saw 90% clearer skin when measured from head to toe at 4 months.
Or if you're an adult with active psoriatic arthritis, Skyrizi helps you move with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
There's nothing like clearer skin.
There's nothing like better movement, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi. Visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 15.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. It's Worldwide with Dr. Wilmer Leon on Wealthy Wednesday. Dr. Leon is a political scientist whose primary areas of expertise are Black politics, public policy, and American government. For 11 years, Dr. Leon was a lecturer in the political science department at Howard University in Washington, D.C., and for far longer than that, he's been my personal friend, advisor to a number of community leaders, also national leaders, including but not limited to my friend, his friend as well, my father, the late Reverend Jesse Jackson. Dr. Leon, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show and to your show.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Good afternoon to you and to the audience.
Dr. Leon, let me ask you a question, and then we'll go right into the issues that we're going to cover today that are largely worldwide. By constitutional interpretation and by the Supreme Court doctrines that have advanced over time, which many of which we still live under, the idea of a government that does not offer protections for its people, not a single investigation has been opened up by the federal government into the death of Nolan Wells on federal land and federal territory. Your initial thoughts? Well,
that's an interesting question, because I don't know that I have an answer to that question at this moment in time, because of the ongoing investigation and the fact that things still seem to be in the hands of the state. And not even beyond the state, they are in the hands of the local government. And so I don't know how much of this is a matter of things still have to develop versus things are intentionally being slow walked.
You know, as you know, Dr. Leon, slavery was in the hands of the states. until the American Civil War. And certainly property interests were in the hands of local government. And if a Negro even tried to escape from slavery, he might make it one county over, but his boys in the next county would send him back.
Mm-hmm.
The fugitive slave laws would send him back. And so, but for federal enforcement, but for the idea that, one, the Negro is given citizenship rights, which, by the way, I think I've shown in my editorial, it applies to white people as well. It applies to white immigrants who come to the United States as well. It applies to our brown brothers and sisters. It applies to people who are born and naturalized in the United States of America. The citizenship rights earned and won by the Negro slave are largely responsible for modern America. But this idea, this philosophical idea that the federal government is under no obligations to protect you within your state or within your local municipality and not open up an investigation, not even open up an investigation when the state itself has a history from Emmett Till to Medgar Evers to Swerner Goodman and Cheney.
And to all the other unknown
investigations. Absolutely.
I don't debate that with you at all in theory. My only point is a matter of timing. And because as far as I know, I don't even know that a cause of death has been determined. And so we're still awaiting the answer. Did he drown or was he murdered? And so I think as we get closer to determining that fact, we can then have a better informed conversation about how to proceed. Because has Attorney Ben Crump made that request yet?
I think Attorney Ben Crump, of the 4 courts that I've been determined that are at stake here, the Mississippi court, the federal court, which requires action by the DOJ, which we have not seen in a single federal agency. Then there, of course, is the court of public opinion, which I do think more and more evidence, more and more stories are coming out about that as well. So at least 3 courts. There is a 4th. I'll hold that one. But I do want to say this. There were 7 arrests by the National Park Service in less than a month from the allegation that someone had destroyed the reflecting pool, which is under the purview of the National Park Service. Not a single federal arrest, not a statement from the President of the United States, not a statement by the Department of Justice, not a statement by the Department of the Interior. It's their property on July 4th that Nolan Wells lost his life. Not a single statement from any of these federal agencies about an investigation on the death of an individual on a federal land, whether it's murder or not. I find that profoundly troubling, to turn that responsibility for federal property over to a state jurisdiction.
I don't debate that with you in the least. I'm with you 1,000%.
I appreciate you. Let's get right to it. Dr. Leon, there's so much going on in the world, and I don't know anyone who covers it better than you. Why don't we start with Saudi Arabia joining U.S. military strikes on Iranian proxies? Your thought about the long-term consequences of that behavior?
Well, I think what we're seeing relative to that is a very slow but deliberate expansion of this conflict, and it's interesting to me how the language, how this is being framed. There was a piece, I think, in the Washington Post. Trump threatens to hit Iran hard, and they say that the threat comes after the Saudis joined the strikes on Iranian proxies. And the use of the word proxy to me is interesting because from what I can discern, the Saudis are an American proxy in this conflict. A proxy is a person, a document, or a system that acts as a substitute or stands in for another. So Bahrain, Oman, the UAE, aren't they acting as American proxies here? So what we're seeing here, I think, is a horrible, quite possible, if not probable, expansion of this aggression, because there's even now a story that Iran has hit a U.S. Tanker in the Mediterranean. So I think it's in Egyptian waters. So this is expanding. Not to mention, of course, the Ukraine striking the Iranian ship in the Volga River in Russia. This is very, very dangerously expanding, and the American people need to pay very serious attention to this, because Donald Trump is doing everything in his power to take us into World War III.
There's an article written in the Washington Post by Julian Zelizer, who is a foreign policy expert, and he argues that Bill Clinton's effort to end welfare as we know it paved the way for MAGA. I remember being in Congress during that era, and I voted against welfare to work requirements, calling it slavery by other means. And what do you mean by that? No wealthy people are asked to work extra hours for their tax benefits. No wealthy persons are made to work harder for any benefits that they get from the federal government, and they get plenty, including security, military security for their interests here in the United States and around the world. But the poorest of the poor of the poor under Bill Clinton were required or asked in a housing bill, I remember it very well because I went to the floor arguing against it, were being asked to pay and work for their federal subsidy and their federal benefit, which was a guarantee that they would remain in poverty. Anyway, Zelizer makes a compelling argument that Bill Clinton lays the foundation for MAGA. Dr. Leon, your thoughts?
I think that is an incredibly compelling argument. And one of the reasons why I think this is relevant now is because people need to understand that these things develop over time. That MAGA did not just spring out of the ground from whole cloth. That Donald Trump is not the causation, he's the culmination. Because even before we get to Bill Clinton, we've got to go through Ronald Reagan, and a lot of the programs that a lot of the social safety net programs that Reagan wanted to cut. We can go even back to Nixon, as they were trying to be sure that they provided money for the Vietnam War. Hence Dr. King's speech, A Time to Break Silence, why I oppose the war in Vietnam. So it's important to understand that as we want to sit here and throw stones at Donald Trump, which we are more well within our right to do, that we have to understand from whence all of this has come. And when you look at the Democratic Leadership Council and how Bill Clinton was responsible, or through his administration, we got the Telecommunications Act of '96. We got the repeal of Glass-Steagall. There are a number of things as Bill Clinton wanted to reinvent government as we know it, as he wanted to move the Democratic Party further to the right, that by his doing so, we can draw lines between the then and the now. And when you look at reinventing government as we know it, they claim they were trying to make government more efficient by implementing private sector business practices into the public sector. The big problem with that is the primary function of the private sector is, in a capitalist economy, is profit. The primary function of government is the delivery of services. And so a lot of what we're seeing now is the culmination of what Nixon implemented, what Reagan implemented, what Clinton implemented.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More with Worldwide with Dr. Wilmer Leon when we come forward.
It's Afternoon Drive Time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Black Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson says the city has set a new record for youth employment.
Every additional opportunity represents another young person gaining meaningful work experience.
More than 32,000 jobs were created for young people this year, the highest annual total in city history. Officials credit expanded youth employment programs and new career preparation opportunities. Black Stockbridge, Georgia Mayor Jaden Williams is asking the GBI to step into the city's investigation of possible financial misconduct. The 22-year-old mayor says he's being targeted because of his age and denies any wrongdoing. And federal immigration officials are accused of using anti-Latino slurs during last year's immigration crackdown in Los Angeles. The ACLU says body camera footage and text messages show agents using derogatory terms while making arrests. The group is seeking a court order to stop what it calls race-based profiling. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more about research, education, and support at Crohn'sColitisFoundation.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The second window to register to buy tickets for the 2028 Summer Olympics here in LA begins today. More than 4 million tickets were purchased in the first window in April. The second window to register is today through Friday. You must have a Visa card to register and make the online purchase. All the info is at la28.org. la28.org. Once you register, you'll get an email notification that you're in the mix to buy your tickets. Tickets will be available for purchase in the second window beginning August 10th. The money continues to pour in for NFL players. Cleveland Browns cornerback Denzel Ward is now the highest paid defensive back in NFL history. The 29-year-old Ward signed a 2-year contract extension Wednesday morning worth $62.2 million. $52.3 million is guaranteed. The new salary for Ward, a 5-time Pro Bowler, averages $31.1 million. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This isn't a talk show.
It's a town hall with no walls.
This is KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Is reviewing life insurance on your to-do list? Now's the perfect time to add it. A friend recently told me that securing life insurance sooner rather than later can help you lock in lower rates for years to come. So I bumped this up on my list and got it done. I called SelectQuote and couldn't believe how easy and affordable life insurance is. I'm 40 and got a $500,000 policy for $16 a month. My husband's also 40 and his $500,000 policy was only $18 a month. Plus, with SelectQuote's same-day coverage, there was no medical exam required and we were covered by the time we hung up. Knowing I have this checked off my list feels amazing, but the peace of mind knowing my family is protected feels even better.
Call SelectQuote at 1-800-729-7070. That's 1-800-729-7070. Or go to SelectQuote.com to get your free quote today. That's 1-800-729-7070. Details on example rate at SelectQuote.com.
This summer, the Honey Pepper Pimento Chicken Sandwich and Pineapple Dragon Fruit and Sprite are back at Chick-fil-A.
Girl, it's back. We've been waiting. I love that honey pepper pimento sandwich.
And that pineapple dragon fruit and Sprite is everything. It's got that razzle dazzle that makes you stop and say, okay, wait a minute.
I love the creaminess of the pimento cheese. It's savory. It's bold. It's flavorful.
Our faves are back. High five, girl.
Which fan favorite will you choose? Real customers paid for their testimonials.
You ready? Drop it.
2 shows, 1 Friday. All Amanda Seals. What's up, y'all? Catch me here on KBLA Talk 1580
First from noon to 2 p.m. And if you miss me, I'm back 4 to 6 p.m. See, this is where the conversation gets real. Ooh, and it gets good. So don't miss it. Fridays only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I love a girls' weekend, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can sometimes take me out of the moment. Now I'm all in with clearer skin, thanks to Skyrizi, Risankizumab Brisa, a prescription-only injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy.
You can usually find me in the kitchen, but my active psoriatic arthritis can limit me at times. Now I'm still in the mix with Skyrizi to treat my joint symptoms.
With Skyrizi, most people with plaque psoriasis saw 90% clearer skin when measured from head to toe at 4 months.
Or if you're an adult with active psoriatic arthritis, Skyrizi helps you move with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
There's nothing like clearer skin.
There's nothing like better movement, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi. Visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We are worldwide with Dr. Wilmer Leon on Wealthy Wednesdays. Dr. Leon is the host, producer of the nationally broadcast radio talk show Inside the Issues with Wilmer Leon on Sirius XM Satellite Radio, Channel 126. He's the author of Politics, Another Perspective, commentary, analysis on race, war, ethics, and the American political landscape in the age of Obama. He's also a contributing author to The Democratic Destiny and the District of Columbia, Lexington Books 2010. Dr. Leon, welcome forward to the show.
Thank you for bringing me back. Hey, everybody.
Hey, Dr. Leon, how can we support your work?
Go to WilmerLeon.com and everything you need to find out. All the questions to the world can be answered at WilmerLeon.com. What's the meaning of life? Whatever you want to know, go to
Wilmer. Another perspective, and it will break you intellectually from your doldrum of sleep and lack of wokeness. Dr. Leon will definitely make you say,
I'll try.
Let me think about that.
I'll try.
I appreciate that, Doc. Doc, let me ask you a question, and then we'll move on to the next subject matter. I got the impression from this article in the Washington Post about Bill Clinton and welfare having paved the way for MAGA, that the author was intimating that certain Democratic policies actually catered to the precursors to MAGA and laid the foundation for the behavior, quite frankly, that the Democratic Party itself has to own. They have to own it, but then we can't quite escape the reality that we did lay the foundation in an era where there was, let's say, on those policies, less courage. It was pandering. It was catering to the right wing. And now we have a complete collapse. Dr. Leon?
I think you're spot on with that. And that takes us again to the Du Bois quote from 56. There is but one evil party with two names, and it will be elected despite all I can say or do. There is no third party. He says that he believes democracy has so far disappeared in the United States that no two evils exist. And so I think you're absolutely right that one of the either underlying elements of that piece or one of the major factors for writing it was to make the point that the politics in the United States has shifted so far to the right that it's hard to tell what are the real ideological differences between the two parties that we're supposed to have. And why are we having a debate about whether or not an alleged war criminal, and I say alleged because he hasn't been convicted of these charges, but there is an international arrest warrant out for Benjamin Netanyahu, and he can come to the United States with impunity and even threaten the United States by saying, I've got special forces on call if anybody tries to arrest me. So the politics has shifted so far to the right that both parties are complicit in the demise of the quote unquote empire.
Okay, so I missed that right there. You're saying that Benjamin Netanyahu in the United States has special forces on call against Americans if Americans sought to enforce an arrest warrant against him.
I read a piece that is what he said today.
That's a lot, Doc. That I'm going to have. Wow, I'm probably going to owe you an apology by next week, but I got to find that one because wow,
that's what he said.
I understand that Mayor Mamdani had a compelling case for enforcing the International Criminal Court, and certainly the United States, which does not, by the way, is not a party to the treaty that created the International Criminal Court, but it would just seem that the basic rules of international law and governance of civility between nations, that the United Nations, the Hague, the ICC, all of these are factors in establishing normalized procedures for behavior, and that the United States has essentially opted out and said we're prepared to go at it alone.
In fact, it's just going back to I found it. This is from The Hill. Wow. The Hill reports that's what Netanyahu has said.
That's shocking. We'll have to come back to that at some point in time. Let's move on to this idea raised by the American conservative that Netanyahu and Zelensky, who visited Trump roughly at the same time, that their wars converge. What was the author of that article getting at, Dr. Leon?
Getting at the point that we opened up our conversations with about the expansion of this conflict, and that this past Saturday, the Ukraine said it struck ships that were allegedly transporting Iranian-linked military cargo in the Caspian Sea. And this past Sunday, Iran's foreign minister Araghchi alleged that the Ukraine had struck a commercial vessel, killing a sailor. And so as we look at, again, this whole proxy idea and the fact that Ukraine is acting as an American proxy, and that's just not my opinion. Marco Rubio said that on Hannity last year. Let me see if I can quickly find that quote. Rubio made the point that President Trump sees this Ukraine conflict as a proxy between nuclear adversaries, the United States and Ukraine versus Russia. So Rubio has already come and told us that the Ukraine war is a proxy conflict. And now you see this conflict in the Middle East slowly but very, I think, deliberately spiraling into an international conflagration.
Dr. Leon, I see proxy conflicts as the very never-ending wars that Donald Trump ran against when he ran for president, certainly a second time.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of a proxy is that every American has plausible deniability, whether they are Democrat or Republican. They get to throw their hands up and say, I did not start this, but they are central in maintaining it because it carries out a foreign policy for the United States that the United States no longer wants to put its fingerprints on. Am I right or wrong about that?
Oh, I think there's a lot of validity to that point. And you know, so that's why a big part of the Western press loves to use the proxy reference because they use that reference to vilify the opposition. So Yemen is a proxy of Iran. Hamas is a proxy of Iran. Hezbollah is a proxy of Iran, as opposed to looking at the fact that maybe they are all of like mind and they are united in resisting the genocide and resisting the imperialism that the West is trying to impose upon them. And so, again, if they are proxies, why isn't Saudi Arabia an American proxy? Why isn't Ukraine an American proxy?
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More with Dr. Wilmer Leon when we come forward.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. These are hard times for housing in America. Too many in our community face barriers to safe housing, behavioral health care, and affirming spaces for healing, particularly those impacted by poverty and stigma or incarceration. Rooted in South LA, Ahmad supports impacted communities through housing, wellness, and leadership development. Ahmad provides culturally responsive, peer-led support from transitional housing and mental health services to leadership development and youth empowerment. They offer safe, affirming houses for youth, transgender women, and formerly incarcerated individuals. Therapy and peer support with a focus on healing trauma in Black communities. HIV prevention and care, free testing, education, and wraparound services for whole person wellness. Standing in the gap with health, housing, and hope. Reach out to Ahmad Institute at 323-569-1610. That's 323-569-1610. Or visit amaad.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 joins you in standing for voting rights. The midterm election campaign season is here now. The 2028 presidential election is right around the corner. When We All Vote is a leading national nonpartisan initiative on a mission to change the culture around voting and to increase participation in each and every election by helping to close the race and age gap. Created by Michelle Obama, When We All Vote brings together individuals, institutions, brands, and organizations to register new voters across the country and advance civic education for the entire family and voters of every age to build an informed and engaged electorate for today and generations to come. When We All Vote empowers their supporters and volunteers to take action through voting, advocating for their rights, and holding their elected officials accountable. It's all in for 2026 and 2028. Please visit whenweallvote.org to stand up for your rights, voting rights. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Roger and Tracy saved over $18,400. Cynthia was recovering from a family tragedy and saved over $10,300. If you are drowning in debt, then call Debt Blue. Debt Blue is a professional debt negotiation firm with over 20 years of experience helping people pay back a fraction of what they owe. Learn how to cut your debt up to half or maybe more. Be debt-free in 24 to 48 months, even with bad credit. With an A+ rating from the BBB, you can rest easy knowing Debt Blue is going to deliver guaranteed debt reduction. Debt Blue offers a success guarantee. You pay nothing unless your debt is reduced or completely resolved. That's right. You save money or it's free. Call now for significant debt relief and a free consultation. 800-200-8879. That's 800-200-8879. You don't have to declare bankruptcy. This program works if you owe $10,000, $20,000, or even $100,000 in debt. Call for your free consultation today. 800-200-8879. That's 800-200-8879.
I love a girls' weekend, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can sometimes take me out of the moment. Now I'm all in with
The
Clear
Jesse Jackson
Skin.
Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr.
Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special guest and regular contributor on Wealthy Wednesdays is none other than Dr. Wilmer Leon. We are worldwide with him. We've covered a large swath of what's going on in the world. But I did want, before we go on to this issue of OpenAI and Anthropic, this question of Netanyahu and Zelensky and how their wars converge. Are you suggesting in your analysis after having read the article, Dr. Leon, that this is something Democrats are going to inherit should they regain control of the White House as well? And it will be just as difficult for them to get out of it as it was easy for Trump to get in it.
Yes, because there are many. It's once the narrative develops that you don't support the troops, once you haven't pushed back on that narrative. Joe Biden was very proud in saying, I am a Zionist, with Netanyahu sitting right there next to him in the Oval Office. And so Kamala Harris, when asked what would be the differences between a Harris administration and a Biden administration, and she said, oh, there won't be any. Well, that says to me that you're down with these conflicts. So yes, it'll be, and then when you factor into this, I think the power of what Eisenhower warned us against, the confluence of interests between the military and the private sector, the military industrial complex. When you factor the pressure that the Boeings of the world and the Lockheed Martins of the world are influencing on the pressure that they're bringing to bear on our legislators, that's contributes greatly to why the American people can't seem to vote their way out of this, because no matter who they seem to vote for, the legislators don't listen.
Dr. Leon, let me pivot now to OpenAI and Anthropic, asking the U.S. government in the Washington Post to consider slowing down AI. There's a huge part of me that says that ain't going to happen, especially given the profit motive in the United States and the competitive nature of international relations in this artificial intelligence space. Not only the race between the United States and China, but there are sufficient Indian, as in the country of Indian interests, that are also playing in this very competitive space. Russia is playing in this space. The whole world is playing in the AI space in large measure, but in small measure, the third world clearly is not. Why is AI, and that is OpenAI, and Anthropic asking the U.S. government to unilaterally disarm in this space?
Well, because they're saying that AI is now starting to develop AI, that they're losing control of the Frankenstein monster. And that's a frightening reality. They say that now they've come to realize that the government has a role to play. It's time for the government to step up and establish the guardrails that this technology demands. They are saying that AI, that the development of the technology is taking place at breakneck speed, and to a great degree, AI is developing AI. And it's important for people, I think, to understand that what this really comes down to is computer learning. They've reached the advancement in technology to where they can teach computers based upon the databases that they create. They can teach computers how to learn, and that this is happening at such a breakneck speed that they're losing control of the technology.
That is, I mean, that's everything that we anticipated that would be the case for AI. But I think what we could not have anticipated is that the time constant is no longer constant, that this is not taking place over time. It's taking place literally.
It's a great point. And as African Americans, as communities of color, we should look back at history and look at the COINTELPRO program, look at the Tuskegee experiment. There are a number of things that we have been subjected to. I call them the nefarious implications of AI. That history tells us that Western governments, with the development of AI, will not use this to our benefit. When you look at the fact that already, when you apply for a home loan in the United States, it's quite possible, if not probable, that a major part of your application process will be determined by artificial intelligence generated algorithms, and that they're finding that those outcomes are biased. When judges are trying to determine who will recidivate and who will not, who should they give bail to and who should they not? When a lot of those reports are AI generated, and what they're finding is there are racial-based biases in those reports. So it's impacting Black prisoners. It's impacting Black homeowners or those interested in buying homes. This is not going to bode well for us.
Dr. Leon, we have about 3 minutes, maybe 2 minutes and 30 seconds before we come forward. Your word of hope, or maybe a word of direction. What should we be doing? Chaos or community? What should we be doing at this hour, Dr. Williams?
Well, we are spiraling closer to chaos. But what I see with the article on AI is that the manufacturers are saying, "Wait a minute, we need to do something here." We should be paying attention to that. As we look at the success rate of the Democratic Socialists in New York, in DC, and in Colorado, I see space wherein we can operate. The question is, are we going to seize that space? Or are we going to sit back and abdicate our responsibility to those who we consider to be our leaders? You need to check where they're getting their money from, and you'll find many of them are not operating in your interest.
Dr. Leon, thank you for joining us this week. I'm so grateful for your regular contribution and look forward to seeing you next week.
As I do as well. Appreciate it.
Destination Crenshaw is behind schedule, years behind schedule. Residents, businesses, churches, artists, and other stakeholders have questions, and they deserve real answers, not just promises. If empty promises poured concrete, this project would have been open years ago. This week, join us at the Community Town Hall to talk not about the delays, but the timeline, as well as the delays, and what happens next for the Crenshaw Corridor. This public hearing is your chance to get on the record and speak directly to the people making these decisions at City Hall. We elect Black mayors, we elect Black city council persons, we elect our Hispanic brothers and sisters, and at the end of the day, they're all philosophers if they're not pouring concrete and making the quality of our lives right out in front of our homes better. This public hearing is your chance. Join us Thursday, July 30th at 6:30 p.m. at Bethesda Temple Church, 4909 Crenshaw Boulevard. Between the construction call and parking lots, it is eaten alive. Ride share is now less a suggestion and more of a survival tactic around here. So please, ride share if you can. If you cannot join us in person Thursday night, this public hearing will be broadcast live on radio and streamed online at KBLA 1580. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. It's Wealthy Wednesdays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. More with Dr. Todd Yeary when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Black Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson says the city has set a new record for youth employment.
Every additional opportunity represents another young person gaining meaningful work experience.
More than 32,000 jobs were created for young people this year, the highest annual total in city history. Officials credit expanded youth employment programs and new career preparation opportunities. Black Stockbridge, Georgia Mayor Jaden Williams is asking the GBI to step into the city's investigation of possible financial misconduct. The 22-year-old mayor says he's being targeted because of his age and denies any wrongdoing. And federal immigration officials are accused of using anti-Latino slurs during last year's immigration crackdown in Los Angeles. The ACLU says body camera footage and text messages show agents using derogatory terms while making arrests. The group is seeking a court order to stop what it calls race-based profiling. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more about research, education, and support at Crohn'sColitisFoundation.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The second window to register to buy tickets for the 2028 Summer Olympics here in LA begins today. More than 4 million tickets were purchased in the first window in April. The second window to register is today through Friday. You must have a Visa card to register and make the online purchase. All the info is at la28.org. la28.org. Once you register, you'll get an email notification that you're in the mix to buy your tickets. Tickets will be available for purchase in the second window beginning August 10th. The money continues to pour in for NFL players. Cleveland Browns cornerback Denzel Ward is now the highest paid defensive back in NFL history. The 29-year-old Ward signed a 2-year contract extension Wednesday morning worth $62.2 million. $52.3 million is guaranteed. The new salary for Ward, a 5-time Pro Bowler, averages $31.1 million. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Let me put my hard hat on, go back outside, and see if these procrastination Crenshaw construction crews have shown up yet. I'm saving space for grace, but if these trucks don't show up soon, well, you already know.
Destination Crenshaw, your time is up. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. KBLA Talk 1580 and Bethesda Temple Church invite residents, churches, businesses, and community leaders along the Crenshaw corridor to join a vitally important community conversation Thursday, July 30th, 6:30 p.m. at Bethesda Temple Church, 4909 Crenshaw Boulevard. For years now, this community has been living with unkept promises and the devastating effects of the unfinished Destination Crenshaw construction project, leaving residents, businesses, and churches to deal with myriad problems, including the loss of parking, restricted access, traffic congestion, and a lack of emergency vehicle access when it matters most. For years now, Procrastination Crenshaw has directly contributed to the loss of customer revenue for local Black-owned businesses and, sadly, has forced the closure of some businesses along this 1.3-mile corridor. For years now, churches have been experiencing decreased attendance due to the elimination of parking, and social service programs for vulnerable fellow citizens have been altogether halted. For years now, residents have watched their quality of life erode, and nothing has been done about it. If they think they can get away with treating Black folk like second-class citizens, they better think again.
You better think about what you're trying to do to me.
This town hall meeting is a reckoning, a public witness, an opportunity for impacted community members to share their experiences for the public record as we prepare to hold those responsible accountable for this enduring nightmare. So please join us Thursday, July 30th, 6:30 p.m. at Bethesda Temple Church, 4909 Crenshaw Boulevard. This town hall meeting is free and open to the public, but registration is required at KBLA1580.com. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Wealthy Wednesday on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, and we are with Dr. S. Todd Eury, our most prolific contributor on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. He is the pastor of a church in Baltimore, Maryland. He is also one of the lead advisors to almost every civil rights organization's leader in the United States today. Of course, beginning with an organization founded by my father, the late Reverend Jesse Jackson, but also Reverend Al Sharpton, Brother Johnson over at the NAACP, Brother Morial at the Urban League. He's on the cusp and the forefront of things that are strategic, that matter to our community at this hour. Dr. Eury, the politics of our faith. Welcome back to the show.
Always good to be with you, my brother. I saw your message a minute ago, and so, the first thing that crossed my mind is we're going to start in the deep end of the pool, so here we go.
I don't think we have a choice but to start in the deep end of the pool. Dr. Eury, in the first hour, I opined on the idea that Dred Scott is settled law, that Black men, women, and people, therefore, generally, I think that's hard for people to understand that when we say Black men, that it covers everybody. When you get one of these major Supreme Court decisions about Black men or Black people, it covers everybody. There's no gerrymandered line in the United States. When you redraw one congressional district or reapportion one state, it shifts a congressional seat to another state. It changes lines and politics within a state based upon who's able to convince voters in those districts to get elected. And so what affects us all in the United States, and so central to American history is that of Black people and the Negro, more specifically in America. And by the way, very quickly, I use terms to describe us that are consistent with the periods within which they are written. W.B. Du Bois never referred to us as African Americans. He said the problem is the Negro problem. Frederick Douglass referred to the Negro problem. Dr. King talked about the Negro problem, and it emerged in the 70s. Then it was a Black problem. Then it was, of course, with Jesse Jackson, an African American, a hybrid problem. But when you read the writings, sometimes I think we have to be specific to what's going on in these cases in time. The point is, Dred Scott is settled law. But this idea that Cruikshank will not allow, this is a case decided by the Supreme Court, I think in 1873 or thereabouts, where the federal government could not come into a state and stop a state's action, or that the federal government could not intervene when private citizens took the law into their own hands. I find that deeply troubling because right now, even though Nolan Wells died on federal land and federal territory, there is no federal investigation of the life of Nolan Wells, and even in death, Nolan Wells's life is without constitutional protection because we're all sitting around here waiting for the state of Mississippi or a local county to do something because there's no parallel activity taking place from the government of, for, and by the people. Dr. Eury.
The point you raise that civil rights laws are interpreted as to be laws that protect us against government action or if it is discriminatory action in certain contexts, right? In the workplace, for example, or in public accommodation. This very fine line, particularly looking at Cruikshank, that the government cannot police private action, individual actions of discrimination, is actually kind of contradicted, because we now know that there are hate crime laws on the books that actually challenge that if there is an assertion that there is some sort of unlawful animus that informs this hostile conduct by an individual actor, there can indeed be action by the government. However, we know that there's something called prosecutorial discretion. If the prosecutor does not choose to bring in action, then the action doesn't get acted upon. And so part of our challenge is tracking the evolution of the law, accessing the laws that are available to us, but then also having to rely on government actors that are in place because of political outcomes, who very often are not interested in enforcement of certain types of law. And that's what we're actually seeing from this Department of Justice right now.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We're in the politics of our faith with Dr. S. Todd Yeary. And I must admit, Nolan Wells and the absence of the federal government fighting for that man and his life and his family, it's shaken my faith. We're in the politics of our faith with Reverend Dr. S. Todd Yeary. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Are you drowning in IRS tax debt? Angela was. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $80,000. Felicia was having health problems, got behind on her taxes, interest and penalties were adding up. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $15,000. Civic Tax Relief is a professional tax negotiation firm that can protect you from the IRS. If you're getting collection letters, call Civic Tax Relief for a free consultation. They will go to work helping you discover all the relief programs you may qualify for free. James owed the IRS $37,000. Civic Tax Relief represented him against the IRS, and by the time everything was completed, he did not owe the IRS anything. If you are in trouble with the IRS, call Civic Tax Relief for your free consultation now. 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257. Get a free consultation and real tax relief. Call 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257.
You have something to say, and we want to hear it. KBLA Talk 1580 is engagement radio, not outrage radio. A place where your hopes, your frustrations, and your ideas are welcome 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Real talk, real people, real Los Angeles. KBLA Talk 1580, the station that sounds like the city looks. Tune in on your AM radio dial at 1580. Download our free KBLA 1580 app or listen live on our website at KBLA1580.com.
Unapologetically progressive.
Roger and Tracy saved over $18,400. Cynthia was recovering from a family tragedy and saved over $10,300. If you are drowning in debt, then call Debt Blue. Debt Blue is a professional debt negotiation firm with over 20 years of experience helping people pay back a fraction of what they owe. Learn how to cut your debt up to half or maybe more. Be debt-free in 24 to 48 months, even with bad credit. With an A+ rating from the BBB, you can rest easy knowing Debt Blue is going to deliver guaranteed debt reduction. Debt Blue offers a success guarantee. You pay nothing unless your debt is reduced or completely resolved. That's right. You save money or it's free. Call now for significant debt relief and a free consultation. 800-200-8879. That's 800-200-8879. You don't have to declare bankruptcy. This program works if you owe $10,000, $20,000, or even $100,000 in debt. Call for your free consultation today. 800-200-8879. That's 800-200-8879.
This November, you'll decide who leads California. So shouldn't you hear directly from the people asking for your vote? Join us for California Voices, a political town hall and ballot forum, Saturday, October 3rd, 2026. Meet candidates running for governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and other major statewide and local offices, including Mayor of Los Angeles, city attorney, and LA County Sheriff. Get clear, nonpartisan breakdowns of the propositions on your November ballot, both sides, no spin. And ask your questions directly, in real conversation, face to face. California Voices is brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and the Empowerment Congress, giving you the information you need before you vote. Mark your calendar, Saturday, October 3rd, 2026, California Voices. Follow KBLA 1580 for details and download the KBLA 1580 app. Your vote, your voice. Be there.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
It's Dr. S. Todd Yeary on the Politics of Our Faith on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Dr. Yeary is a civil rights attorney, a public policy advocate. He holds a deep belief that honest dialogue creates opportunities to form strategic partnerships and strengthen families and communities. He is both a earned PhD and a lawyer, and a principal of the Yeary firm, a Maryland-based litigation and government relations firm, and also serves as senior pastor of the Douglas Memorial Community Church. I often say on this program that he has 1 foot in the classroom, 1 foot in the pulpit, but also 1 foot in the courtroom. 1 foot, both feet, however, and maybe even 3 feet in reality. Dr. Yeary, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. You ain't got a third foot. You ain't got a third foot, do you?
I don't have a third foot, but if you started getting close to 6 feet, I was going to get real nervous because that often carries a little different connotation.
I appreciate you, brother. Let me ask you a question. I think about every war from the inception of this nation, meaning the Revolutionary War, to the present conflict that we have with Iran, that every war an African American has participated in fighting for their country. But Cruikshank and what I'm seeing with the death of Nolan Wells, with no involvement at this hour by the federal government, we're all waiting patiently for the state of Mississippi to do something it has rarely ever done. Not in Emmett Till, 35 plus years, not in Medgar Evers, 40 plus years, and in other cases, never have they provided an equal protection to their African American citizens who've lost their lives in social justice struggles. I'm not suggesting that Nolan Wells lived a life of social justice. I'm suggesting he lived a post-Brown versus the Board of Education life, where probably at 18 years old, he didn't reflect upon social justice. But this idea that the federal government on federal land, Horn Island, has not opened up an investigation at all into his death, albeit whatever the circumstances of that death are, is deeply troubling, and it harkens back not only to settled law with Dred Scott, but it raises the questions of how far the federal government is willing to go to check a state that is not bringing forward justice in a swift and immediate way. And I say that against the backdrop that in less than 30 days, Dr. Yeary, and this is a curveball for you, there were 7 arrests, 18 citations, and a number of investigations that were opened up by the National Park Service over the swimming pool that Donald Trump had repaved, including locking up an Olympian. And still the federal government on federal land has no idea what happened on July 4th, where the National Park Service covers national parks. It has no idea what happened or shown any interest in what happened on Horn Island.
The irony of Nolan Wells' death occurring on the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, I think we should not understate. It is clear that there's a distinction here, that this notion that all people are created equal. The document says all men are created equal and endowed with certain unalienable rights, among them the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. All three of those were encroached in an offensive manner toward Nolan Wells. And so we now find ourselves again dealing with the contradiction. On one hand, we have words that are devoid of action because the government tends to be selective about what the government chooses to enforce. The thing we have to also remember, a couple of things. Dred Scott is settled law because the Constitution was amended. The court never overturned Dred Scott. The people overturned Dred Scott. We cannot miss that. The other thing is we have to remember the government's participation in the horror that we read about in the Greenwood section of Tulsa known as Black Wall Street, that they aided and abetted the racial hostility in the 20th century reality. And so many times we have to figure out, do we go to the government seeking relief, or do we protection and defend yourself from the government as opposed to relying on the government to defend you?
I'm spellbound by your analysis and your thoughts on that, Dr. Urey. Appreciate your brilliance. Help me reconcile the speed within which the United States Park Service, the Department of the Interior, responded to the president's call for indictments and actions regarding a reflecting pool that, by the way, he drove his motorcade right down the middle of, which had to have some foundational effect given the weight of those cars compared to the weight of a human being who might have even just been wading their feet in the reflecting pool. But the idea that somehow someone took a razor and stripped the reflecting pool of its foundation with no articulation, at least reasonable articulation, that maybe the Suburban and the heavy-weighted vehicles, including the tanks that he drove down the middle of the reflecting pool before it was filled with water, could have had some effect on the seams of the very pool itself. 7 people have been arrested. Many are facing criminal prosecution. 18 incidents have been cited, as well as reports written, but not a single report from the Department of the Interior, the National Park Service, the FBI, the Southern District of Mississippi on the death of an American citizen on federal territory in Mississippi or outside of Mississippi, Horn Island, which is federal territory, not the state of Mississippi.
Yeah, this is what we get when there is no check of the executive branch, because the conduct becomes very arbitrary. Choosing to enforce some minimal conduct, if any at all, around a reflecting pool and doing nothing to assist in an investigation into a very suspicious death of a young African-American man who had caused no trouble, had the best of his years still ahead of him, and yet it did not warrant and has not warranted that the executive give direction to act on it. And that's why when we've talked about the midterm elections, you got to pull the levers of government that force a different kind of discourse. The Congress holds the purse When the budget comes out and they want to talk about what the agencies get, the Congress holds a very key lever to be able to influence the conduct of the executive, to protect and defend the rights under the Constitution of the United States. And so what we have is an executive who has not been checked and won't be checked anytime soon, at least not until January the 3rd of 2027. And then only if one or both of the chambers switch in terms of party majority. And then, depending on how much protest is going to be put up, because you must be certain that if the numbers shift in either the House or the Senate or both, there will be a rush to litigate and muck up the system and hold up the progress, because the one thing that this administration does not want to be, and that is held accountable for what it does or what it does not do.
You know, Todd, I got to say this, and I say this respectfully, Dr. Uri. I didn't mean to call you Todd. Listen to this. I come from a unique perspective, a perspective in that I did some time. I own my behavior. And there were days when I was in prison and I asked myself the question, am I the only person who's ever done this? But why am I the example?
Mm-hmm.
Why am I here for 30 months? In my case, the Obama administration, the government decided to exercise its full discretionary authority, even though I own my behavior, paid back my debt to society, etc. You're still going to do 30 months of time. And then I reflect upon the millions of Americans who did absolutely no time for the same offense, including members of Congress who were afforded the discretionary authority of the government to not prosecute them or leave their lives in lifelong felonization. And then I think about the men, and yes, women, even though I was obviously in an all-male joint, who did do something wrong, maybe a paper crime, maybe it's a brain surgeon or a heart surgeon who's not responsible for billing Medicare and Medicaid, but it's definitely their office that may have overbilled, who wanted to pay their debt to society, pay their monies back because accounting discrepancies were made, but the government chose to take their medical licenses from them, incarcerate them, ensure that they could never practice medicine again, even though their majors were not accounting, their majors were brain surgery or cardiac and cardiovascular surgery, and can never practice again. This idea that the government has discretion over whom it brings a charge against or even an investigation against, that's not equality under the law, Dr. Uri.
Well, that's agreed. We've done sentencing disparity studies on all sorts of things, except maybe white collar crime sentences, where the victim is purported to be the government itself. What we know is that if we just look at history and look at how the criminal legal system has evolved, there are wide disparities. So on one hand, you can't get an investigation. On the other hand, if you are identified as a potential or an alleged offender, you can't get a break. That's the challenge, but that should be foremost in our minds as we start considering what's going to happen in about 90 days, because the election is upon us and we've got to be ready to make sure that we get justice some way, somehow, and it starts with showing up at the poll.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Dr. Uri has just pivoted. I don't know if you all caught it. He basically said we need to stop complaining about what we don't have and get ready in 90 days to use what we got. I'm grateful for Dr. Todd Uri for that pivot, because that's exactly where we're heading when we come forward on the politics of our faith with Dr. S. Todd Uri on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Peyton with BIN News Now. Immigrant advocates and community leaders gathered outside the Miramar ICE office to protest increased arrests across Florida.
To advocate for an extension of TPS at the congressional level.
With temporary protected status ending for many Haitians, advocates are calling for changes to immigration law and urging Miami officials to stop cooperating with federal deportation efforts. Black Maryland Governor Wes Moore has named 2 judges to Washington County District Court. Travis William Poole will fill a vacancy created by a retirement, while Michaela Miriam Eugenia McNichols will serve in a newly created 3rd judgeship. And the petition period is underway for Chicago's 2027 mayoral race. Political director Christian Perry says some groups have already started collecting signatures for Black Mayor Brandon Johnson, though Johnson has not announced whether he'll seek another term. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more about research, education, and support at Crohn'sColitisFoundation.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The second window to register to buy tickets for the 2028 Summer Olympics here in LA begins today. More than 4 million tickets were purchased in the first window in April. The second window to register is today through Friday. You must have a Visa card to register and make the online purchase. All the info is at la28.org. la28.org. Once you register, you'll get an email notification that you're in the mix to buy your tickets. Tickets will be available for purchase in the second window beginning August 10th. The money continues to pour in for NFL players. Cleveland Browns cornerback Denzel Ward is now the highest paid defensive back in NFL history. The 29-year-old Ward signed a 2-year contract extension Wednesday morning worth $62.2 million. $52.3 million is guaranteed. The new salary for Ward, a 5-time Pro Bowler, averages $31.1 million. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We love America in spite of, not because of. And that's the deepest kind of love. This is KBLA Talk 1580. In a world full of noise, one station keeps it real. KBLA Talk 1580, where the conversation goes deeper, the voices sound like yours, and the issues that matter most to our community take center stage. Progressive, powerful, unapologetically us. Whether you're driving through the city or tuning in from your home or office, join the public square. KBLA Talk 1580, your home for talk that enlightens, encourages, and empowers. Listen live on our free KBLA 1580 app, on our website at KBLA1580.com, or on your radio dial at 1580 AM.
Unapologetically progressive.
Is reviewing life insurance on your to-do list? Now's the perfect time to add it. A friend recently told me that securing life insurance sooner rather than later can help you lock in lower rates for years to come. So I bumped this up on my list and got it done. I called SelectQuote and couldn't believe how easy and affordable life insurance is. I'm 40 and got a $500,000 policy for $16 a month. My husband's also 40 and his $500,000 policy was only $18 a month. Plus, with SelectQuote's same-day coverage, there was no medical exam required and we were covered by the time we hung up. Knowing I have this checked off my list feels amazing, but the peace of mind knowing my family is protected feels even better.
Call SelectQuote at 1-800-729-7070. That's 1-800-729-7070. Or go to SelectQuote.com to get your free quote today. That's 1-800-729-7070. Details on example rate at SelectQuote.com.
I love a girls' weekend, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can sometimes take me out of the moment. Now I'm all in with clearer skin, thanks to Skyrizi, Risankizumab Brisa, a prescription-only injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy.
You can usually find me in the kitchen, but my active psoriatic arthritis can limit me at times. Now, I'm still in the mix with Skyrizi to treat my joint symptoms.
With Skyrizi, most people with plaque psoriasis saw 90% clearer skin when measured from head to toe at 4 months.
Or if you're an adult with active psoriatic arthritis, Skyrizi helps you move with less joint pain stiffness, swelling, and fatigue.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines. There's nothing like clearer skin.
There's nothing like better movement, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi. Visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. This is Wealthy Wednesdays and the Politics of Our Faith with Reverend Dr. S. Todd Eury. Dr. Eury, welcome forward to the show.
You know, I have to do my research between breaks. I got to be ready for you when we come back.
All right, great, Dr. Eury. Here's a curveball. In 1982 and 1983, I traveled the state of Mississippi and 9 southern states with my father, the late Frank Watkins, and a caravan on something called the Southern Crusade. And one of the things that we found out in Mississippi, and we went to dozens of counties in Mississippi, Benny Thompson, whom I met in that crusade for the first time before my father ran for president in 1984 and 88, he was Supervisor Thompson. He wasn't Congressman Benny Thompson. I had no idea one day I would serve in Congress with him, but he was Supervisor Benny Thompson. We brought William Bradford Reynolds, the head of the Civil Rights Division of the Justice Department in the Reagan administration, to look closely at the behavior of Mississippi voting processes. William Bradford Reynolds, a right-winger, was so outraged by what he saw, he canceled and postponed elections in certain counties because they were not complying with the Voting Rights Act of 1965. From that struggle and the Reverend's campaigns came the drawing of the congressional district that since 1988, 90, 92 elected Benny Thompson, the head of the Department of Homeland Security Committee in the Congress of the United States, to Congress. And he served faithfully ever since. I say all of that to say, in order to serve on a jury to help Nolan Wells in Mississippi, you have to be a registered voter. But the same state that one struggled and made African Americans register twice to vote once in 1988 and before, the same state that is opposing any kind of federal investigation of what took place on federal land in and around the state of Mississippi, the same state and governor who called Benny Thompson a terrorist less than 6 months ago, and that we need to do away with his congressional district, we are being asked to tell our voters in that state, who in the past have had to register twice to vote once, why the midterms are so important and why they must vote and register, the barriers that Mississippi has erected notwithstanding. Help us through the difficulty of our enthusiasm, because if we can't get justice for Nolan Wells, how are we supposed to elect in Mississippi the candidates of our choice?
So a couple of things that I would say to that. One are the words that resonate in my memory that your father would often say to us. It's in moments like these that we should not get discouraged. We should get determined, recognizing that the adversity is significant. Let's not downplay it. However, if we remember our own history, if we remember our own persistence and resilience over the many years since let's just use the 250-year ago signing of the Declaration of Independence, we have not arrived at this place because somehow or other the government found some altruistic impulse and decided they wanted to do right by us. We had to force the hand. The way we would force the hand is we also have to remember that Mississippi, that same state, was the state from which the first Black U.S. Senator was elected just because of the numbers at the time that Black men got the right to vote. It put Black folk in a position to impact an outcome. That same assessment is alluded to in the Kerner Commission report, that Black power, while we don't have majority influence, we have determinative influence. We can swing the outcome of an election. And our challenge has been, we've gotten caught up in the hype of a popularity contest instead of having an agenda contest, and making very sure that we participate in such great numbers that every elected official knows that they're going to be held accountable. There's a reason why this president is trying to control mail-in ballots. There's a reason why this president is trying to make voting more restrictive on civilian citizens who are on the homeland than if we look at the federal law that governs military members and their families' ability to participate in federal elections while they're overseas. All you got to do is just say, extend the jurisdiction and application of that law, make the rules even. That takes care of mail-in balloting, when you can register, how you can register. If it's good for one group, it should be good for everybody. Yet they keep having this dissonant conversation like somehow or other we're coming up with something crazy. The way to change it, and the reason they're still fighting, is they know this is a math problem. And if we show up in the numbers that we have available to us, we complicate their math outcomes. That's what we've got to do. Otherwise, they get to put in place whomever they want, do however they choose, and then we end up holding the bag.
Dr. Uri, I appreciate that answer. You know, if I were driving right now, and I am, on the 405, the 101, the 5, the 10, the 118, or the 110, and I were hearing this conversation about Nolan Wells and processes by which African Americans are denied the right to vote in a state like Mississippi, why should I care one way or the other about what happens in Mississippi? I live in Los Angeles. I mean, I live in Beverly Hills. I live in Crenshaw. Why should I care about what's taking place in Mississippi?
I'll say it this way. When I was still in the classroom teaching, I would teach a couple of sessions of Intro to American Government. This notion that majority rules as a principle of how democracy works, I believe, is oversimplified. It's the majority of those who choose to participate who rule. There's a difference, because if you choose to sit out, then you leave it up to kind of random outcome, whether or not you're going to get someone who's actually going to defend your interests. And many times federal law applied to all of the states and territories comes down to what's the mix of whomever is in the House and or the Senate. And so we've got to take care of home court first, right? But we also have to make sure that all of our relatives, all of our friends, real cousins, play cousins, wanna-be cousins, lottie-dottie, everybody, they are registered, they have confirmed their registration, and they're ready to do what this government does not want us to do. I can't make it any clearer than that. If it were not important, they would not go to such extremes to try to deny us access to the ballot. They're doing it because they know the impact of our political influence and power. They also know how serious we've been over the years. Our story cannot be denied. Our resilience and resistance speaks for itself.
And therefore, hence, never sin for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee. That is, you're involved in mankind. You, no matter how small the endeavor is, your life is impacted on the 405 by the life of Nolan Wells because Crookshank says so. If the extension of the federal government intervening in a case that affects his death and or his life if it applies there, then the federal government, in the event that you find yourself or your child under similar circumstances, the federal government ain't gonna come and assist you either if we don't solve it in this space.
And all we need to do is look at recent votes. The margins have been so tight in the House and Senate in this Congress that many times the determining outcome of some of the votes has been actually one vote. When we talk about the Voting Rights Act and the reauthorization, the last time it was reauthorized in 2004, oddly enough, the voice that said the conditions were such that we still needed the Voting Rights Act in the South, that vote was from the U.S. Senator that everybody says is missing and keep looking for, Mitch McConnell. So it becomes clear that if we don't pay attention to history, if we don't pay attention to what folks say on the record, if we're not listening to what folks are saying when they provide public testimony under oath, then we leave ourselves susceptible to all kinds of random shenanigans, like having a housing guy head up national intelligence and getting rid of all of the key jobs of the analysts that we would need if there is really a sense that we need to protect our interests.
When we come forward with Dr. S. Todd Yeary, he's also a very prominent lawyer who handles criminal defense cases all the time. I want to ask him a very specific question. If he were advising anybody who was on that boat in Mississippi on that particular island and under these particular circumstances, would you allow your clients to be conducting or giving interviews or making posts or making statements? I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We're listening to Dr. S. Todd Yeary and the politics of our faith. More when we come forward right here on KBLA.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Michael's Daughter Foundation is dedicated to inspiring youth and resilience through storytelling, arts, filmmaking, and enrichment programs for youth and families in under-resourced communities and system-impacted individuals. The Michael's Daughter Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit providing free and low-cost arts programs to youth and families from under-resourced communities, both system-impacted youth and those affected by the incarceration of a loved one. 1 in 43 children in America have a parent incarcerated. 70% of those children are expected to end up in prison. Through filmmaking, animation, theater, and writing, they help young people express themselves, build confidence, and imagine new possibilities. Beyond the arts, they offer financial literacy workshops, emergency support, and scholarships. Because thriving takes more than talent, it takes access. To learn more about the impact of Michael Daughters Foundation and how you can be a part of the movement, please visit their website, michaelsdaughterfoundation.com. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
You deserve a treat, a $10 bill credit treat. If you get an LADWP paper bill but go online to pay it, stop! Break up with your mailbox. It's time to go paperless. With paperless billing, bill reminders come straight to your inbox. You can access 7 years of past bills in your online account, and you don't have to deal with paper clutter piling up. It's a win for you, your time, and the environment. $10 bill credit for new LADWP paperless billing signups. LADWP.com/paperless.
Hey, Mom, now that I have an after-school job, I think I want to buy a drum kit.
Okay, Rockstar. Let's look at your account.
When kids start making money, Chase has easy-to-use tools and expert bankers to help them learn how to manage it.
And next month, I'll buy the bass drum and the cymbals. Oh, and maybe some noise-canceling headphones for you.
Aw, you've thought of everything.
Help kids save, budget, and build financial independence, all with Chase. That's good for kids and good for parents. Visit your local Chase branch and get started.
Account subject to approval. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
Back to school starts now. Get long-lasting battery life on the Dell XPS laptop powered by Series 3 Intel Core so you can work from anywhere. Now starting at $699 with exclusive student pricing starting at $599. Complete your setup with savings on select monitors and must-have electronics and accessories. Limited time deals and free shipping on PCs and more await you at Dell.com/deals. That's Dell.com/deals.
You know that Big Bargain detergent jug is 80% water, right? It doesn't clean as well.
80% water? I thought I was getting a better deal because it's so big.
If you want a better clean, Tide Pods are only 12% water. The rest is pure, concentrated cleaning ingredients.
Oh, let me make an announcement.
Attention shoppers, if you want a real deal, try Tide Pods.
Stop paying for watered-down detergents. Pay for clean. If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Pods. Water content based on the leading bargain liquid detergent.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Tired of being locked out of job opportunities and shut down by systemic racism? KBLA Talk 1580 stands with you in fighting for the rights of black workers, and we don't black down. The Los Angeles Black Workers Center is a dynamic alliance of workers, organized labor, community-based organizations, clergy, students, and scholars working collectively to improve the position of the black working class. The LA Black Workers Center takes a comprehensive approach to addressing the black jobs crisis. Their programs promote access to quality jobs, racial equity in hiring and retention, discrimination-free job sites, and they prepare black workers for employment in high-wage career track jobs. The LA Black Workers Center supports workers who need help protecting their rights on the job. They give workers access to quality jobs and remove systemic barriers to employment. And they are advocating for a fair deal for black workers in the new Los Angeles City Charter. To sign up for free career readiness training, get involved in organizing, or learn about union apprenticeship programs and trade registries, please visit lablackworkercenter.org. That's lablackworkercenter.org. Together, we can beat the black jobs crisis and build a more equitable Los Angeles. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We're in the politics of our faith with Reverend Dr. S. Todd Eury, one of our most effective and thoughtful contributors to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Dr. Eury, welcome forward to the show.
You put a lot on a brother's mind. That's all I can tell you.
Dr. Eury, these are complicated times, and I love to hear you sort through some of the difficult challenges that all of us are struggling with. We're trying to find a way to say it, but you can't write it down. It's something that is as intuitive in terms of being African American and trying to understand where we fit in the scheme of things. And I think this period of reflection is exactly what we get after 250 years of the experiment. And I find it also somewhat fascinating that we are living, if you hear my voice on the 101, the 5, or the 10, we are living the experiment by talking about it. For July 4th, some people in this nation, a large swath of them, have moved beyond the holiday already. They're gone. They saw the fireworks, they had the barbecue, they had a great beer. Dr. Eury, every single day of the experiment, we have an interpretation in terms of our confrontation of the reality of what it means to be an American. Dr. Eury?
Yeah, I've been in the district a couple of times over the last week for meetings and depositions. And so I walked up and down the mall and looked at the reflecting pool that can't reflect anything because there ain't no water in it.
You didn't stick your fingers in it, did you?
Look, I just watched how they were putting up another memorial right in front of the Lincoln Memorial. You know, it's just kind of all of that. And then I walked back down by the memorial to Dr. King and spent some time reflecting on Dr. King's words. This notion, this recognition of 250 years is not just how it has impacted those of us who find ourselves in the United States. At the same time, there's been an ever expanding impact for African descended people in the diaspora around the world. we have to understand that we don't just tell U.S. history. We tell U.S. history as part of a larger conversation of the U.S.'s role in world history. That world history, if we look at the U.S.'s participation, it has been kind of the abstaining presence when we look at the trafficking of human bodies, when we consider how the United States at the Berlin Conference played more of a mediator amongst the European colonizing nations to decide who would carve up which parts of the African continent. We have to remember that the model that became apartheid was modeled after Separate but Equal, which was birthed out of Plessy v. Ferguson, which came about after Dred Scott. Here's what I say to folks. If we are going to honor Dred Scott's sacrifice, we understand it's settled law to us now. It was not settled law. It was settled for him in an adverse way, because he had the courage to take it to court, to force the court, the judge, the justices, to make a statement on the record. We then had a reason to be able to fight. If you need more of a reason to fight in this moment, you've not been paying attention. And so it becomes such a deep matter of urgency when I consider my kids and their peers. Many of them have never experienced this kind of struggle nor seen anything close to it. But if we are to make sure that this moment does not miss us because we sat out or we sat back, then I don't think there's any better way or less complicated way than to show up and vote, because it doesn't take a whole lot of effort to do it. You just got to do it.
Dr. Uri, I'm so grateful for your participation and your contribution. I do want to make this one brief announcement, and then maybe we can close on your word of hope. Destination Crenshaw is behind schedule, years behind. Residents, businesses, churches, and artists were all gathering on July 30th at 6:30 p.m. at Bethesda Temple Church, 4909 Crenshaw Boulevard. The injustices that are taking place, from my perspective, are not just taking place in Mississippi. They are also taking place in Crenshaw and in Lamert Park. If you cannot join us in person Thursday night at Bethesda Temple Church, 4909 Crenshaw Boulevard, you can join us in person Thursday night. This public hearing will be broadcast live on radio and streamed live at KBLA Talk 1580. Dr. Nee Quartelai-Quartey will be hosting, along with Tavis Smiley, who will be moderating the town hall at 6:30. Don't be late. Don't miss it. And be on time. Dr. Uri, we have about 3 minutes before we come forward with our program, and we're asking for your word of hope.
Well, a couple of things. One, we have to recognize that oppressive thinking, racial animus, does not observe geographic boundaries. When we talk about what's happening in Mississippi versus what's happening in California, or what's happening in Illinois, or what's happening in Maryland, those boundaries are penetrated with something as simple as a text message, a cell phone call, any number of things, social media post. So we have to recognize that we really are connected, whether we want to admit it or not. But here's where I think for the moment, leave the consideration. One, our citizenship right of access to the ballot is an act of stewardship. It is not to give us an option to become spectators, though we can act on it by choice. If we know what it has actually taken for us to have the choice, we will be moved to be better stewards, better protectors of not only the right, but the outcomes. The second thing is that silence is a choice. Sitting out is a choice, and it has consequences. And so you may not cast a ballot, but your silence is going to either endorse your oppression or it's going to invigorate your oppressor. And so finally, we didn't pay the price to get here. We didn't. We got the benefit of somebody else paying the bill. We should at least pay them back by participation that they never got a chance to enjoy. That is how we live out our faith in a civic space so that we would do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with our God.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You've been listening to The Politics of Our Faith with Dr. S. Todd Yeary on KBLA Talk 1580. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
KBLA 1580